All right. Welcome to the Lovecraft eZine podcast. And our guests today are Todd Kiesling and Robert. You know what? I've talked to you so much via email, but I never asked how to say your last name, Robert.
Oh, it's Otone.
Otone. Okay. Well, you guys have written a couple of books, not together, but I've got two guests today. Todd's is Devil's Creek, and yours is Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. And whether you're watching or listening, you'll see them in the show notes. So the link to them on Amazon. If you guys are watching live, or whoever is watching live, say something in the text chat so I know you're there and I'm going through. All right, so the nice thing about both of these is they're both available in print and Kindle, but they're also both available on Kindle Unlimited. So that's really cool. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, thanks guys. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, that's a real easy way to read the book. So, and like I said, I've linked to them in the show notes. So let's do introductions, and then we'll have our guests introduce themselves last and go from there. I'm Mike Davis, Lovecraft eZine podcast guy, publisher, whatever. I don't know what it is I do. Matt.
Hello, I'm Matt Carpenter. We have a great prize this week. It's a hardcover edition English language of the great artist Esteban Maroto's Lovecraftian comics, including The Festival, The Call of Cthulhu, and The Nameless City. If you want to win this, you send an email to ezineprizes@gmail.com. You put myth in the subject heading, and in a few weeks, we draw a random winner. Maybe it'll be you.
I can tell you who the random winner is already. So
it's especially random if you mail a 20.
That is one hell of a cover. That is great art. Wow. Bridget.
Hello, I'm Bridget Brunmark. I'm a composer, artist, horror fan, and this weird creepy doll up here is Slash Richards.
Slash Richards. That's great. Yeah.
Wait. Did you make it? How'd you get this? What's this?
No, I didn't make it. It was just a find at the at-home store.
Wow, that is a find.
Yes.
Did you make up the name, or was that the name?
No, I made up the name because doesn't he look like a cross between Keith Richards and Slash?
Yeah.
He needs a knife or something.
Rick.
Rick Laywriter.
All right. Well, John Langan said he'd be here, but I think we're all used to John being late, so we'll just look forward to that. Hey, someone in the live chat says Devil's Creek was my favorite book in years, Todd. So
wow,
thank you. Nice. Todd, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Todd Kiesling. I'm a writer of horror and weird fiction. Most recently, Devil's Creek, out from Silver Shamrock Publishing.
Perfect. And Rob.
Hi, I'm Robert Otone. I'm from Long Island, and I'm the author of 2 collections of short horror fiction, including Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares.
What's the other one? For some reason, I was under the impression this was your first. I don't know why.
The first is called People, a horror anthology about love, lost life, and things that go bump in the night.
A collection? It's all your stories, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Great. Rick.
Rob, since you're in Best Page, since you're in Long Island, I'm in Best Page.
Are you really?
Yes.
I knew that you were on Long Island. I didn't know you were in Bethpage. That's awesome. Yeah, I in that school district.
Yeah. Where are you in Long Island?
I'm in East Islip.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll have to get together when this is all over.
That's cool. Well, as regular listeners know, just about everybody, all the panelists here are creators of some sort. So if you go to the Lovecraft eZine website, up at the top left, you'll see podcast, and you'll see a couple of things. You'll see a list of upcoming guests for the next few months. Their names are hyperlinked to their latest work, book, whatever. And you'll see, if you scroll down past that, you'll see the panelists, and their names are hyperlinked too. So, like, for example, Bridget, tell them what your hyperlink goes to, just as an example.
My link goes to my webpage, where you can find my art and music and links to my SoundCloud and Instagram and fun things like that.
So yeah, support these guys, since they have to put up with me every Sunday. So, also, Patreon, all you Patreons, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. If you're not a Patreon, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. Just Google Lovecraft eZine Patreon. I've got a new, I guess you'd call it a series coming up, probably like once a month or once every 6 weeks, called Deep Background. And basically, we're just going to talk about the biography of the writers or editors or creators that I interview. So, for example, the first one, if you, I know a lot of readers, if you like an author's books, you're curious about their life and so on and so forth. So, my first guest is going to be Laird Barron, and he's got quite an interesting background. So, we're going to do that live for patrons next Thursday at 9 Eastern, and then the audio will be up a week or so after that for patrons. This is a Patreon only thing. So, and it's only $5 a month. So, that's a coffee at Starbucks once a month. So I got one the other day because I was out of town, and man, I'm never doing it again. $4.28 for a cup of coffee.
Was it pumpkin spice?
It was cafe mocha, actually.
Oh,
my favorite.
Excellent choice.
That is my favorite, but can't buy those every day. So, Rob, I have a question for you. In your acknowledgments to...
Wait. What is John Langan eating?
Oh, John's here. Pete's here now, too.
Is it the roasted remains of German Godzilla? That's really pitiful.
Absolutely not. German Godzilla is alive and well.
He's eating Ghidorah.
I was going to say maybe like the smog monster or something. No, I was just like, man, I got to deal with Todd Kiesling, who the hell knows? I was just like, I'm going to need something to get me through this. So a little ice cream,
I'm loving the Corona hair. It's very nice.
Look at your beard, man. You look like something out of like some 70s rock band or something like that.
He's a writer.
Who says I'm not?
Look.
I always wondered what happened to ZZ Top, and now I know.
Right.
All right, so I guess now we have Pete Rawlik and John Langan. Pete, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Pete Rawlik, and I drive a Hyundai, so you don't have to.
And John Langan.
All
right,
John Langan, official minder of German Godzilla. Ach du Liebe! He's very happy to be here.
All right, so in Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares, here's one of the acknowledgments to the janitorial staff at the middle school I worked at that did nothing about the gnats infesting the teachers' lounge. You'll know which story is for you.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that was a rough time.
Will the reader be able to guess that too? Do you think?
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, they'll know which story for sure. It's it's definitely one of the darker ones in there for sure.
All right, so usually, like the way that we like to do this is the last person that shows up will do the interviews. So who was that today? Oh, it's John Langan. So, I take it you know this. I take it you know this Todd Kiesling guy.
I'm not sure who you hate more, me or John.
No, I hate John more, and there's no question.
Actually, I want the little guy who's behind Bridget. I'm thinking that her husband is not looking so good right now, but I want him to do the interview.
We're actually
She
going
like
to be.
left him in the dryer too long or something like that. He was like, "Honey, what's going?" It's like one of those Twilight Zone episodes, and he woke up and he's like a doll, and he's like, "How did this happen?"
We're going to
Well,
be
you know,
even more
you always
informal than
have,
usual.
you always
today.
have German Godzilla, so I brought Slash Richards today.
Oh, okay, nice. Slash
There you go.
Richards, nice.
Yes, I think Keith Richards will probably outlive this doll, actually.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Keith Richards is like an amateur.
And I have these little emojis that for some reason freak.
Davis, stop it. Stop trying to
Freak Matt the
overcompensate.
hell
No one
out.
cares. No, come on, stop it.
No, you're right. No one
Holy
does.
cow! Now look at that.
Yes.
Look at what Rob has there. That's hardcore.
Wait, let me
I
put
just
you on
got
the
a
screen
crop
here,
shot of
Rob.
Michael
Put that back up.
Giant
Holy
Michael
shit.
Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
And
it was
that's
sitting-
Todd's little statue of himself. Yeah.
Yes,
As
this
it was
is like a statue of me when I was a child.
Like, in other words, like last week.
Right, you got it. Before the beard grew in.
And John, I agree with you. Nobody does care about these emojis except for
No,
one person, Matthew Carpenter. For some reason, it freaks him out. So that's why.
No,
I'm
Matt was
saying-
just Carpenter just had something up, and I couldn't. It looked like a chess piece or something like that, and I was like, "Is he like saying checkmate, Mr. Bond?" I couldn't figure that one out.
Well,
No,
well,
these are fake scrimshaw. They're official fake scrimshaw. Like this is an Ulthar cat.
Right, but so what is it scrimmed? What Shaw is it scrimmed out of?
It's probably some kind of plastic. So it's actually made out of dinosaurs. Even if it's not whale ivory, at least it's dinosaurs.
So it's some other like extinct species. Okay.
Made out
Well,
of
it's, isn't plastic made out of dinosaurs?
No, that's actually not true. Come on, you're a doctor. You're supposed to know this stuff.
Well,
It technically
I'd like to
is
think that-
true. Actually,
Is that an Innsmouth resident?
I don't know. I forget. But the Elder thing's cool. You can get it at the HPL Historical Society.
Nice.
all the audio listeners right now later are going, "Who gives a fuck? I can't see it."
Just imagine, everybody. Imagine that it's just as depressing as it sounds.
Yes.
All right, so you guys have shown off all your toys.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna bring out something.
I think I've officially lost control of this podcast.
Yeah, it's not coming back, man. I'm sorry.
No,
What is
Look
that?
at that.
Wow,
is
very
that?
nice.
it's a candelabra.
It's a candelabra, but it's in the shape of a spider.
Nice.
Oh, that is cool.
I found it at a thrift shop for $2.
$2 well spent.
That's
Yes.
Do you put it on
$2
top of your piano when you play?
Yes. Yeah. When I play, the piano smells like a carnivore.
And when you guide people through your house, you're like, "Come right this way."
Yeah. No, never. Nobody is allowed in my house right now.
I mean, that's
I
how I
say
greet
this
people
as
in my
my
house.
wife-
What'd you
My
do
wife
now?
hosts a dinner party right now,
Oh, okay.
and
Well,
I
we're
am.
kind of like a highly dysfunctional dinner party,
It is.
True.
I am drinking sangria.
and
If
we
this
all
were
brought our
Clue.
dolls. So I mean, it's cool. It's totally cool.
All right. So anyway, to rein you guys in a little bit and just
Uh-oh.
pretend like we're a halfway professional show. Todd, the name of your book
Yes.
is Devil's Creek, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you kind of give us a spoiler-free synopsis of this book?
Well, it's a horror novel.
All right. Thank you. We're done.
Wow, way to clear that bar
Right.
there, Kiesling. Wow,
I took some
that's-
marketing classes.
Very
no.
Kiesling, which is it?
What's that?
I said Kiesling, Kiesling. Does anybody know?
Kiesling.
It's Kiesling.
Kiesling. What is that even a real name?
I mean, what kind of a name is Langen anyway?
No shit.
No, let me tell you. I mean, it's not as bad as Davis, but you know.
You know, I like my name. You know why? Because Mike Davis. Try and Google me. Really, it's like Googling John Smith. You're not going to find me. So, but okay. So Lovecraftian people. This is the first paragraph on the Amazon page. About 15 miles west of Stafford, Kentucky,
Stafford.
lies Devil's Creek. According to local legend, there used to be a church out there, home to the Lord's Church of Holy Voices, a death cult where Jacob Masters, almost said Marsters, a death cult where Jacob Masters preached the gospel of a nameless God. So right there, every Lovecraftian is clicking the buy button.
I
on
hope
this
so.
book.
I've classified it as a small town cosmic horror novel. It's was inspired a lot by the novels I grew up reading in the in the 80s and 90s. The small town horrors, epics from King and Dan Simmons and Robert McCammon, and it's kind of my take on that. But I wanted to bring the cosmic horror element a little bit farther south, get it out of New England into the area where I grew up in southeastern Kentucky. And it's based on a real urban legend. Devil's Creek's a real place. It's about 20 miles from where I grew up.
Wow, a real urban legend? That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it the same urban legend?
The thing is that
version?
there's really no one left alive who knows the real story. Like, I did some extensive research on that, and all I know for sure is that there was a church out in the middle of nowhere on Devil's Creek Road, and at some point it burned down. People say that it was a desecrated church and that the townspeople burned it down, or there was an attempted satanic ritual.
Do they know roughly when it burned down? I mean, are we talking 100 years ago, 50 years ago?
That's something I could not pin down either.
Huh.
Like, I kind of was under the assumption it happened around in the 50s or 60s.
Okay.
And I think the supposed legend kind of gained traction during the Satanic Panic. Satanic Panic and rural Bible Belt country. They were a great combination.
You remember that Tom Hanks movie where he goes crazy because he's been playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Mazes and Monsters?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Where it was something else. Would you say, Todd, that your writing, I should say, is better than John Langan's writing? Would you
Wow.
Absolutely it is. That's right.
Well, you got Langan in your corner anyway.
Based between the choice of reading myself and reading Todd, I would totally read Todd.
Yeah, because you already know what's going to happen in your books.
No, I forget. I'm always like, holy cow, that's terrible.
Well, I was doing John a favor when I asked him if he wanted to blurb a couple of my books, because I figured he needed the promotion and whatnot.
Yeah, because they'll read your book and they'll go, John Langan. This guy's a writer? Maybe I should try one of his books.
The funny thing is that, in all seriousness, Todd contacted me about, would you blurb my story collection? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm always like, whenever somebody asks, it's always really flattering. But you don't know if you're going to have time. You also don't know if you're gonna like it, And so I'll always say, well, sure, I'll take a look at it. And man, his story collection, I was really impressed with the first story. But you obviously you put your strongest story first, right? So sometimes the second, third, fourth, fifth story, not so much, right? But I mean, in this book, like story after story, it wasn't just that they were all good, but it was that they were all kind of different. I was kind of amazed at just all the different, sort of approaches that he had to writing the horror story and all the different voices, all the different styles. It is such a grand slam of a collection. It's one of those books that should be read by a lot more people.
Which book are we talking about with the collection?
Ugly Little Things.
Ugly Little Things?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Devil's Creek is just it's true, right? It's funny because what's his name? John Taft did what was it, The Fearing, right?
Fearing,
and I thought it was kind of interesting that recently people have been sort of looking back to those kinds of 80s, the books that we grew up with, those kinds of epic horror novels and
the covers.
Yeah.
Although there's some great covers in the 80s. I'm sorry, John. Go on.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking about cover bands, but
No, there's a book out called Paperbacks from Hell.
yeah, that's true, right? Yeah, Grady Hendrix's book, right? And so Devil's Creek is just such a it's cosmic horror, but I don't know, it's not it's not Lovecraftian cosmic horror. I don't think you would say, but it definitely. Funny thing is that what Todd was just saying about like trying to drag it out of New England down to the South, but like so much of it in like Hawthorne or whatever, is all about witchcraft and the satanic panic of the Salem witch trials, right?
No, there's a satanic panic for you. Yeah,
it's like but it's like everything old is new again, and it's I never thought about that before. You see it and you see it in
at least there were no burning. It was bad, but at least there were no burnings at the stake in the 80s that I know of.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Yeah,
that we know of.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, John.
So that
all right. So the check should be made out to John Langan. Okay?
You're gonna have to put it on my tab. I'm
if that is your name.
You and your unemployment. Yeah. Look, you've got 2 kidneys, right?
I sold one.
You're a writer. You should only have one left.
Right.
The name of the collection is Ugly Little Things. Is that right?
It's really, really good. I mean, okay. So is Devil's Creek. Yeah.
Well, I know what I was going to ask you, John. When you say not Lovecraftian cosmic horror, you mean not met? Are you saying not pastiche? Because that's
not pastiche.
Pete writes really good pastiche Lovecraftian horror, and there's some bad pastiche out there too. But I've told
I
Pete
write that as well.
Yeah, no, you don't. But I've told Pete this. What I really love is the themes, cosmic horror. Not so much pastiche most of the time. So yeah, the fact that it's cosmic horror but not pastiche, to me it's still any Lovecraft fan would be interested in it, I would think.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that I'm thinking about like what Laird Barron talks about, that the God that you find in what I grew up calling the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible is, and let's face it, the God quite frequently in the New Testament as well is a pretty freaking scary creature. I mean, it speaks out of a whirlwind. It speaks out of a fiery bush. It
slaughters the firstborn of households.
Yeah, exactly. That there's a lot of ways in which that figure intersects cosmic horror quite nicely.
That is very true. All kidding aside, and he's this guy. He's very unforgiving of even one sin. I mean,
are we talking about Laird or God?
Well,
or Todd for that matter.
I was gonna say I thought
I get them mixed up, but let's stay on Jehovah for a second. One apple, took a bite. Well, it doesn't specifically say apple, but the forbidden fruit, and you guys are out of there. There's no second chances. So, right off the bat from Genesis on, the guy's just an asshole, kicks him out of the garden and they're in the ugly world. So
I agree, but it would have been awesome if your screen had just gone blank right then.
Yeah.
There does seem to be a thunderstorm brewing right outside the window, but I'm sure
I knew it.
Related. Yeah.
Mike, that's why Richard Tierney wrote a series of novels in which Yog Sothoth is Yahweh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Drums of Chaos being the most obvious.
Right. And Jesus is more goatish than he's normally represented to be.
Yes.
So Todd, how about you? And I love the curtains, man. That's a fantastic effect.
Yeah, those are
the billowing curtains freaked me out.
Well, I had to improvise because my smoke machine is down. It's not working. So.
Is that in front of a window or is it just?
Yeah.
It would have been great if you were just like, no, what are you talking about? What curtains?
I'm not even in a room right now. I'm floating in the ether.
So what was the inspiration then for Devil's Creek to try, like, I mean, did you know when you started off that it was going to be a big novel? Were you thinking about like, all right, I really want to stretch my wings?
I kind of suspected it was going to be a long novel. I didn't realize it would be that long. Like the first draft of that book ended up being close to 180,000 words. And it had some pretty significant edits in the later drafts to get it, as far trimmed down as much as possible. But, I knew I wanted to write about my hometown, and I wanted to write a bit about what it was like growing up in that environment as someone who doesn't fit in. And the legend of Devil's Creek was kind of this, in the earlier conceptual phases, it was just kind of this catalyst. And then as I grew, because I had this story floating around in my head for 7 or 8 years. And as I grew as a person and as a writer, the church at Devil's Creek and the building this new sort of mythology around it kind of became the center point. But no, like I did not expect it to be as involved as it became. I didn't expect to get as big as it did. It was a case of, I mean, we're all writers here. We know your characters at a certain point start walking on their own, and they start talking on their own, and they start surprising you with what they're saying and doing. And it was like that for me pretty early on, where these characters were going and what they were doing, and it just kind of expanded out from that.
That's a good feeling, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like it. I would say I had about 50,000 words in the first couple of months, and at that point, I emailed my agent and I said, "This is not going to be a short book. I haven't even scratched the surface of this thing yet, and it just keeps growing." But ultimately, I'm happy with the outcome.
As a reader, I am too. It's a great book.
Thank you.
I have a question for you and for Rob, because you're both on Kindle Unlimited. Was that a decision you guys made early on? Did you see it as a what was your reasoning behind it? I just published a book by Raven Dagmorgan. It's Dagmorgan, right, Pete? Is that right? Okay. I talk to him all the time, just not voice chat. Called The Dog, and we don't have the print out yet, but we've got the Kindle out yet, and I put it on Kindle Unlimited because it's just, I read so many books on Kindle Unlimited, and it's been doing really well on Kindle Unlimited. So what about you guys, Rob, Todd?
I wanted it on Kindle Unlimited. I know a lot of people who use it, so I've actually seen a lot of pages read as well since putting it on there, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. It's Amazon is so dominant with with the Kindle as opposed to the Nook. I don't know. I think I used to have a Nook. I think it broke, but I thought it was a great idea. So
it was sort of like VHS and Betamax. I knew that Nook would eventually disappear, so I didn't really do much with it, even years ago.
And I think there's like another one, Kobo or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But so I wanted it on there from the jump. So
yeah. What about you, Todd?
I mean, that was entirely the publisher's decision.
Right.
That was their choice. I can't really say how many pages have been read or anything, because I don't think I get my first statement until the end of this month, because my book's only been out since June.
Well, I think that I've studied promotion and marketing for 3 decades or so, and I'm always learning more. But as a writer, if you're not at that level where a lot of people know who you are yet, and I mean a lot of people, then you're in this, you're building your fan base. And I think that Kindle Unlimited is a really, really great tool for that. If you look at it in the short term, I don't know, maybe you do make less money. I haven't seen the figures on that, but I do think that you always want to make money. Hey, somebody hands you $1 million check for your first book, cash that puppy. But in the real world, you're looking at long term, aren't you? If you're smart, you're looking at building that fan base.
Right.
So
yeah.
I remember when Kindle Unlimited was first rolled out, and I was still pretty heavily involved in self-publishing at the time. And I remember doing the math, because I had a career in accounting for like a decade. I did the math on that, and if the more people who sign up for it means the smaller piece of the pie every author gets. And at the time, I mean, it didn't seem like it's a great value as a reader. It's an incredible value. But as a writer, like you said, Mike, I mean, in the short term, you're looking at pennies. But at the same time, if you're looking to grow your audience and you're not worried about what is going into your pocket at the end of every day, I think it's, I can definitely see the benefit there of reaching as many people as possible.
Yeah,
that was my goal with it. Because I'm still starting out and everything, so I wanted to get in front of as many eyes as humanly possible.
And it's a great goal to have. I mean, once you get to a point where you have a large audience, and you've got multiple titles out there, you'll start reaping the benefits of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Kuntz or Kiernan or King or whoever, Paul, you don't have to think about those things really. But I see a lot of writers who are focused from the get-go on making money on that first book. And of course you want to, but your eyes should be on that long-term goal of building a career as a writer. So and this applies to whatever you're doing. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, whatever. So anyway, Rob, and we'll keep circling back between you guys, and there's a few other things that I'm really itching to talk about, and I want you guys' input on it too, as well as the panelists. But Rob, please tell us a bit about Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. And this is a collection. And
yeah. It's a collection of short fiction. It's anchored by the novella, which is also the title, Her Infernal Name, that I actually wrote, or I started writing for a submission for an open call, and then it ended up turning into 80-something pages of horror. So obviously too long for that open call. And it kind of kills me because I keep seeing authors added to this anthology, and I'm like, damn it, I wish I had just chopped it down a little bit more. They just announced like Brian Keene today is in it and everything, and I was like, damn. So
I think you're doing fine to put it in the collection. So people are reading it, right?
That's true. Yeah. So I started I started working on this right after my other collection came out, and I just wanted to go into a little bit more into my own fears and stuff like that. So I always like to have a concept of the collections, like an overarching theme. And the first one was emotion. My first collection was all about emotion and how to sort of translate emotion through horror. I just lost my father, and I wrote the first collection. So
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It was very cathartic, like working through all that. And then this second one was all about fear. So I sort of exercised a lot of my fears through the writing of this. I'm still deathly afraid of flying. That's the only one that I haven't exercised, but all the other ones are pretty much gone. So pretty happy about that.
If you watch Twilight Zone Nightmare at, 30,000 feet?
20,000 feet.
That will cure you of any flying fears that you may have. So
should I watch the George Miller movie version or the Shatner TV version?
You can't beat the Shatner TV version.
Sure.
I like John Lithgow and everything, but you can't beat the Shatner one, you know.
No.
There's also a third version now on CBS All Access.
Oh, with Adam Scott, right?
Yeah.
It's
Also, Rob,
terrible.
he's lying to you. He's lying. It's not going to help. Someone needs to say this, Rob. Someone needs to say this. It's not going to make things better.
The last time I was playing, I had taken 3 Xanax, which did nothing, and the flight attendant was actually sitting. We were in a row of 3, and the flight attendant was on the end sitting with us, and she was walking me through everything. And I'm like an adult male, terrified of flying, and she's giving me nervous flyer cocktails the whole time, and nothing is really working. And then looking out the window, I was like, this is how Superman sees the world. And I guess everything just hit me. All of the narcotics and the alcohol all hit me all at once. And I was like, oh, everything's fine now. See ya.
Yeah, I hope this incident doesn't put any of you off flying. Statistically speaking, of course, it's still the safest way to travel.
I was hoping we would get to some DC Comics talk, because every time I hear you talk about it, I'm like, ooh.
You know what? There are some people who have problems with the Superman Returns movie, and I'm not here to argue about that, but I will say, and I don't see how anyone could disagree, that the plane rescue scene in Superman Returns is one of the best action sequences in a superhero movie. It's just fantastic. And that part where he's finally just had enough. You know, you look at his face and he flies towards the plane. He doesn't even bother to go around the wing. He just ducks his head and slams right through that wing. It's pretty awesome. So
I love. There's nothing more heroic than lifting an entire continent made out of kryptonite.
Yeah, no shit, right?
What else do you want him to do? I met Brandon Routh like 3 years ago, and he is the nicest guy. He's super sweet. So I was like, oh, I got to meet Superman. That's cool.
Yeah, he and I are from the same area. I'm from Des Moines, and he's from Norwalk, which is just south of Des Moines. So, and at one point, I think, what was it, a soccer team? He and who's the guy who plays Aquaman? I can't remember his name.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, Jason Momoa. They were on the same team in high school. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, Superman and Aquaman were on the same team. So, and
that's cool.
Not to derail the whole thing, but how great was he in Crisis on Infinite Earths?
That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
It was almost pretty much the only good part. Yeah. So,
agreed.
And he had the best line too. Hope is the light that lifts us out of darkness. It's just, yeah. I'm really bummed at the fact that they're doing a Superman and Lois CW show with this other dork instead of Brandon Routh, you know, or as Ben Handelman calls him, Nerd Superman. So,
anyway. We'll see how. They just got rid of, what did they just cancel? Supergirl. So.
Supergirl, yeah. But it went through 5 or 6 seasons. That's respectable. Yeah. You know. All right. So, yes. Pick up these books. I've linked to them in the show notes on YouTube. And if you're listening later on iTunes or whatnot, I will do that as well. So it's easy for you to buy these books. If you're on Kindle Unlimited, get it. Especially. They're both available in print as well, correct? Well, I know yours is, Rob, and I know I know Todd's is too. Come to think of it. All right, so I want to include you guys in these questions. There's a couple of there's some movies and TV out that I think that I've been just itching to talk about with all of you. Scare Me, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Is it Bly or Bly Manor? Books of Blood and Monsterland. Okay, now, so of course, I have not seen Monsterland yet. It's on Hulu. But it is from Nathan's North American Lake Monsters, Nathan Ballingrud. So I'm really looking forward to watching it because it's a very good book. Have any of you seen Monsterland yet?
I watched the first episode, and I was really loving it. It felt... I think what's interesting that what Hulu is doing, and I don't know if they produced Wounds or not, if they put money in, if they, purposely made the Armie Hammer movie Wounds, but it feels very much so like it could be in the same universe, and it feels like that.
Yeah.
And to me, production level wise, it feels very much like a continuation. So it's almost like they have their own Ballingrud universe in Hulu, which I think is fascinating.
I don't think Nathan probably minds at all. I noticed, like I said, I haven't watched any of them yet, but I noticed each episode is the title of each episode is the name of a town, name and state of a town.
Yeah.
In America. So
the first one is in Louisiana, I believe. It takes place in Louisiana.
Okay. Anybody else watched any of these yet?
It's on my list.
Langan's losing Ballingrud points as we speak. So
I was Ballingrud before Ballingrud was cool, man.
yeah.
I was drinking with him at the World Fantasy Convention in 2003 when he wanted to pick a fight with Brian Lumley.
About what?
He did?
Well, here's the thing. So this was my first World Fantasy, just to hijack the conversation.
No, please do.
It was my first World Fantasy. It was 2003.
Nothing's
It was
changed. This is what you usually do.
in DC. And not DC Comics, Davis.
Oh,
Washington,
damn
DC. And so I wound up hanging out with John Joseph Adams, who was still the assistant editor at Fantasy and Science Fiction, and Dale Bailey and Nathan. And I corresponded with Dale a little bit. So anyway, we just spent a lot of time in the bar, just like being impressed by all these amazing people around us. But Nathan had this goal. Nathan wanted to pick a fight with somebody because he thought that would make us legends right away if we just got in a fight with somebody. And Brian Lumley was across the hotel bar, and very, avuncular. But as I recall, he was wearing like some kind of white suit or something like that. This may just be my imagination, right?
No, he's notorious for like these polyester, all one color suits.
Yeah, and he had an open neck shirt, and there may have been a gold chain or something. And he had that red that British people get, when they're out in the sun too long.
I'm still stuck on the polyester.
There was a table full of to my memory, very attractive young women surrounding him and hanging on his every word, as he was very avuncular. And we would all take turns like staring at him, trying to make angry eye contact.
So you and Nathan were basically going, why is that not me?
Exactly. We were like, and finally, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Adams who actually made eye contact with him, and we were all like, oh shit. So, and I brought this up to Nathan. Recently, and Nathan was like, "Well, and if we had the fight, wouldn't we have been legendary?" And I was like, "You're right. You're right about that. People would still be talking about the time that Brian Lumley wiped the floor with the two of us." So,
this was in 2003.
2003.
Brian Lumley would have been 66 years old.
He still would have kicked their asses, though.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the sad point about it.
It's 17 years later, and Langan, nothing has changed for you as far as...
Exactly. Nothing has changed.
It's
and Lumley would still kick my ass.
Dominance.
Lumley is a former soldier.
Right. He was, again, was he a career soldier? Or?
Yeah. He was stationed in Cyprus.
Yes. So, I mean, what were we even thinking about? I blame it all on Nathan.
I'm thinking if you'd started that fight, you might not have made it to 2004. So, anyway,
I would be like the Phantom of the Opera now, or something like that.
So for
what
those
happened
who
to his face? I can't talk. Brian Lumley did this to me. Yeah.
So for those who are not aware. Yes, Wounds and Monsterland, both from the mind of Nathan Ballingrud.
The belligerent and bellicose Nathan Ballingrud.
Yes. They're on Hulu. So check them out. They're available now.
Yeah, Wounds is awesome.
Yeah, Wounds is amazing.
I thought that was a great adaptation.
I really, really enjoyed the... I think it was a novella, if I remember correctly. I read it some years back. It was not called Wounds. It was called something else.
The Visible Filth, which
yes.
It is. It's a terrific novella. It really is.
Yeah. So I have not seen Wounds yet. I'm interested to see how closely it sticks to the plot of the Visible Filth. But I thought that was such an original. I thought it's one of those ideas that's just hanging out there as low hanging fruit that nobody grabbed. You know what I mean about the cell phone type thing?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems it's one of those things that only seems obvious after it's done. So great idea. Okay, so consensus, and remember, Rob and Todd, you're included in this. Books of Blood. Has anyone seen it yet?
I've seen it.
Okay. Bridget?
I was going to watch it after I watched the first episode of Monsterland, but then I got distracted with other things.
I read some impressions on it, and I realized that it's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was supposed to be a series, but I guess now it's just...
I don't know why they didn't do a series. A movie doesn't make sense.
Well, because they have Monsterland, so if they're going to put... I don't think it would be, money-wise, probably a good idea to do 2 anthology or 2, collective series.
They don't have to do them both
Clive
at once.
Barker's name alone would,
Well, okay, so Bridget's the expert here because she's the one that's seen it. What are your thoughts, Bridget? I haven't seen it yet either.
I enjoyed it. I don't think it was the most amazing thing ever, but I'm a Clive Barker fan. I enjoyed it. I thought there were some really cool... Trying to think of a way to give it away, not give away spoilers, but there are separate stories in the movie, but they all get tied together in the end. And the way they all got tied together, I thought was pretty good. And the ending itself was worth watching it, I think. It wasn't earth-shattering, but it was just creepy enough that it stuck with me afterwards. So
okay, so here's a question. Clive Barker, everyone has high expectations. So let's say you watch this movie, Bridget, but it's just a new horror movie that you are watching on, what is it, Hulu? Yeah, Hulu. And it's not Clive Barker. Just pretend for a second. It's just another horror movie. Do you think expectations are higher because of that? Would most people's opinion of Books of Blood, the film, be higher if it wasn't for that?
I think maybe so. Maybe it is expecting a little bit too much. But I also remember Clive Barker's Book of Blood from the 80s, and I think this is better than that movie. Don't want to make any 80s horror movies fans mad because I'm a huge 80s horror movie fan too, but that movie in the 80s was just super slow. It was it was dry. The ending lost a lot of its power. I will say that from that movie, there is a very memorable scene though. And that scene is recreated in this Books of Blood version in a very awesome way. So that in itself is worth watching it. But yeah, if you're not super expecting something amazing because it's Clive Barker, I think you'll enjoy it. It's better than a lot of random story movies out there. Say that.
So you're talking to the viewers now. You're saying don't expect it to be the best movie ever, but it's worth watching.
Yeah,
is that
exactly?
Okay,
exactly. It's not going to be the most epic horror movie of the year for sure, but it was very enjoyable. There were some great visuals and some great creep out moments that, I think it's worth watching.
All right, that's helpful to me. I'll watch it. Anybody else here seen it besides Bridget? Okay.
Who directed? Do we know who directed the Books of Blood movie?
I do not know. Sorry.
Brandon Braga.
Brandon Braga, the guy who did a lot of Star Trek?
Apparently.
Yeah, it sounds like him.
I don't know that name.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm hearing conflicting things about The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Some people love it and some people hate it.
Yeah, it's Mike Flanagan again. And we've talked about this before. I think we all were of the same opinion that The Haunting of Hill House was great until the last half hour, and then it took a nosedive.
It's The Haunting of Hill House was a decent television series. It just wasn't Hill House.
Right. Yeah, it had nothing to do with the story.
So
And that last line, I could see that coming and was cheesy as hell. Sorry, Mike. Yeah. So on to The Haunting of Bly Manor. I have seen most of the first episode, and I'm going to watch more tonight. I stopped because Danielle's watching it with me, and I didn't want to watch when she wasn't watching. You guys know, if you've been watching or listening to the show for a while, she's not a horror movie fan. She's liked this so far. Here's what I've found interesting so far in the limited, 45 minutes or so that I've watched of it. When the car passes, I forget the protagonist's name, when the car passes her on the street, I saw this mirror man, with the bright eyes, whatever, in the car's reflection. And I was like, Danielle, did you see that? She goes, no. And I rewound it, which is something that she hates. This is why she hates watching movies with me, because I do this a lot. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then you notice that the girl covers the mirrors in her hotel room and so on and so forth. So I'm more and more intrigued. And I think that this, and you glimpse this mirror man, whatever he is, a few more times in mirrors. And it intrigues the hell out of me. I think he's, I don't know what happens with this guy. I'm hoping to find out more tonight because I'm hoping to talk Danielle into watching more. But when you don't know much about something like that, it's scary. The more you know, when you name something, it loses its power, if that makes sense.
I remember having that feeling with the first series with seeing all the different ghosts in the background, and I only saw a handful of them. And I remember there was one point where they show like the staircase and the family's talking in front of the staircase, and you just see them in the background. They're pretty easy to spot if you're looking. But I remember at the time I was watching with my girlfriend, I was like, do you see that? Like, what's going on? And I just paused it because it was like a pretty long shot. And she was like, well, who are those people? I was like, that is a fantastic question. And then as it went on, just seeing more, well, I didn't see all of them. Like I said, I saw a few more. And then reading online, oh, here's where they all are. And then when we went back and watched through the series again, we were like, oh my God, there's one there, there's one there. And I feel like it's kind of hard to do that 2 times. But if you're saying it's, because I don't have Netflix, so I haven't watched it yet. But if you're saying it's effective with this Mirror Man character, that's awesome. That's great that they're.
Well, I would qualify that by saying it's effective so far because I've only seen the first episode. There's in Twin Peaks, I don't remember. It's one of the early episodes where Bobby and his dumbass friend, they're doing a drug deal with Bobby's girlfriend's husband, of all people, and they're meeting up in the woods or near the woods, if memory serves.
Yes.
And he's railing on him about being late or something. I don't remember what it was. And you see this guy about 50 feet away in the dark woods poke his head out behind a tree and then disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby's like, what the hell? Who is that? And the guy's like, don't worry about it. The interesting thing is that this guy in the woods is never explained in Twin Peaks.
Nope.
Which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, there's so much in Twin Peaks that's still up in the air.
Yeah.
But I remember
Twin Peaks.
What's that?
I love Twin Peaks so much.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I was gonna wear my Agent Cooper shirt tonight, but I decided against it. It's dark, so I was like, I'll wear a bright shirt. But yeah, I'm a huge Twin Peaks guy. But I remember that happening too, and I had seen the series multiple times, and I showed it to my girlfriend for her first time, and she was like, "Are we ever gonna find out who these characters are?" And I was like, "No, don't be silly."
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask
yeah.
I'm curious now because you're both Twin Peaks fans. Do you guys feel in your writing, like, do you feel a kind of, I don't know, influence there? Are there things you like that detail, right? Like having a detail that just never reappears. It's just like there. Like, is that or are there other things you feel that you've gotten from Lynch in your own writing?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just the bizarre, the weirdness aspect. I think that was a huge influence on me when it came to, writing really strange, scenarios. And like, you mentioned, John, the first story in my collection, I had Lynch in the back of my mind when I was writing that. Because it's very dreamlike. It's very, you don't know if it's real or not. You don't know, if it's actually happening, if this guy's dreaming or what. It's a definite yes.
Rob?
I found myself, when I saw Blue Velvet for the first time in high school, that was kind of the movie that made me want to write. I had read a lot that made me want to write, and I explored with that, but I felt like a kind of, if David Lynch could be so fearless in writing something like that, I can too, or I could try to, at least. So in a similar way, I guess, with Todd, I feel more closely connected to when something like in Twin Peaks or in Blue Velvet, where there's something just under the surface of the normal, everyday suburban lifestyle. Here on Long Island, it's rows of houses that all are pretty much the thing.
That is a theme that I love so much, Rob.
Yeah, I'm just obsessed with it, and I just love peeling back just a little bit, and then you start to see the darkness. In Blue Velvet, he finds an ear, and it takes him on this horrifying journey. And I've always wanted to kind of have that moment in some of my stories. Some of them are just bonkers to be bonkers, and then there's other ones where it's like, oh, that would be messed up to find something like that, and then just go on this awful journey.
Now, this doesn't work for all stories in all situations, but I think it works a lot, especially depending on the author. And our friend Scott Thomas, he was on another podcast recently. I'm sorry, I forget which, but he was talking about a mantra that he goes by, 2 words in his writing: explain nothing. Which works out really well for him. If you read The Sea of Ash, my favorite of his, there's so much that weirdness, and you do get payoffs in reading this book, but at the same time there's so much left unexplained, where he hints at the very end, okay, these guys might have been spotted here or here in this old photograph or whatever. It's brilliantly done, and when it's done right, to me, at least as a reader, it's very satisfying. When you wonder what else is out there, when it gives you that feeling, I love that.
I did a couple interviews for the book so far, and always at the end when the recording stops, somebody, it doesn't matter, they always ask, like, so was this really this in the book? And they always want to know what the thing is, or what this was, or what happened to cause this. And I'm always just like, do you really want to know? 'Cause I'll tell you.
It loses its power though when you know too much.
One of the things that I've taken away from Lynch is the satisfaction and dissatisfaction in the win-lose ending. Like for Twin Peaks, he figures it out, but it pretty much costs him everything.
Yeah.
And so you're left with this, well, I now know the mystery, it's all solved, but the character who got us there is just totally destroyed. It's a very noir thing.
And even when there's the tiniest glimmer of hope in the return that this is the thing that happens, we end with screaming in the dark. And
there's Ecclesiastes in the Bible is very, actually, dare I say, Lovecraftian in some ways, and nihilistic. And one verse is, in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Which I think about when we discuss topics like this.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, it really is. It would make a good. Sorry, my mind's gone blank.
It's okay.
What do you call the little quotes right before a book?
Epigraph.
Epigraph, yes, thank you. My mind went completely blank on that. So, all right, okay, getting back to Bly Manor. Has anyone besides me started or finished or is in the middle of Bly Manor?
I gotta tell you that,
yeah,
having, I don't know, seen 10 versions of this story already.
Yeah, it's the turn of the screw. Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of it. I mean,
Good,
there's
valid point. Yeah.
There's literally a movie that came out in 2020 called The Turning.
Is it good?
I'll get to it eventually. But I already know what the storyline is.
Is the Turning good?
It's okay.
Well, is he with Haunting of Bly Manor, though? You know, as you said a few minutes ago, Pete, doesn't have anything to do really with the Haunting of Hill House. The book. Is Bly Manor the same way as far as the turn of the screw?
My understanding is that he's drawing on the turn of the screw, but also a number of other Henry James ghost stories.
Yeah.
The Jolly Corner and the Altar of the Dead among them, I think. So I have not seen it. I'm interested. In some ways, I'm more interested in this because I'm a big Henry James fan, and those stories are never really filmed. So I'm like, oh, all right. Well, let's see what you can do with it.
Right.
That's
I kind of figure if he's going to do those stories, he probably has to do the turn of the screw as well. Because we all know how Hollywood loves high culture, and they're like, I say, man, I can't believe you're not going to do the turn of the screw.
Yeah.
Old Henry will be rolling in his grave.
Probably came down to the fact that it's in the public domain. They don't have to pay anybody.
Absolutely.
That's also it.
Yeah.
John, did you ever see the adaptation of The Jolly Corner with Fritz Weaver?
No, I have not. I did not know there was such a thing.
It was on a series on PBS called, I think, American Short Story.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to look that up.
It is Fritz Weaver and Salome Jens,
Okay.
who was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine as the leader of Odo's race.
Okay.
Oh, this is interesting. Someone on the live chat, using the name Tiptree, I think, says Bly Manor was the name of the location from the 1961 film The Innocents, based on the Henry James story. Miles and Flora were the names of the children.
It's still an adaptation. That was also an adaptation of The Turn of the Screw.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
written by
That's where they got the Bly Manor.
Written by Truman Capote, I think. Joyce Carol Oates has a short story called Accursed Inhabitants of the House of Bly, which is her kind of prequel to the story. And I want to say Michael Sisko told me once about a film with Marlon Brando called something like The Nightcomers, where Brando plays Peter Quint. It's another prequel film, and I've never gotten around to watching it, but Sisko was really insistent that I had to. So
yeah, it's a very good movie.
Okay.
It stars also Stephanie Beacham plays the governess. She was in Dracula in 1972.
This is where the people listening later in their cars, they pull over and grab their pen again. You know, stuff like that.
Let me just diverge for a
please.
minute. Back when I was in high school, we all had
one-room schoolhouse. Is that what you're?
Yeah, basically. No, actually,
you and Brian Lovely. Go on.
Yes, I was talking with somebody at lunch, and about the turn of the screw, and somebody came up to me and he was vehement. It's like, you've got the name of the story all wrong. I'm like, what? It's the turn of the screw. It's not the turn of the screw. It's the taming of the shrew.
Oh my
That's
God.
awesome.
Wow.
Henry James is The Taming of the Shrew.
Yes, but now every once in a while I think about mixing the two stories. It's like The Taming of the Screw or The Turn of the Shrew. And
Yes. The Turn of the Shrew. Do it.
I like the idea of William Shakespeare's The Turn of the Because that would have been a lot more would have happened in that, you can be sure.
Yes, The Turn of the Shrew.
Love the James, though. I do.
If anyone can pull it off, you can, Pete.
It'll be about Peter Quint's courting of the governess.
Sure.
So, you guys didn't answer my question though. Am I the only one that started The Haunting of Bly Manor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I
think
have
we
to
did,
say
we did answer it. Yeah.
okay. I have to say that based on episode 1 only, I really am enjoying it so far. Okay. So,
Okay.
for whatever that is worth. All
Did-
right. Yeah.
Did Flanagan direct the whole thing this time too?
Flanagan?
Yeah. Did
I
Mike
don't
Flanagan?
think. I don't think every episode. No.
Okay. So it's like a True Detective type thing there. He's giving it off to like other people for season 2 because he did the whole first season of Hell House, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah, but don't quote me. So.
Yeah.
All right. Scare me. Who's watched this?
I started it last night, actually. Watched about half an hour, and then I fell asleep.
So no, that's a no from you then, Todd.
I liked what I saw so far.
There's some great acting in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know
And
what this
also,
is.
Todd, you're very old. I mean, you fall
Right?
asleep very easily.
I mean, you're right.
I just want to, I mean, it's not a reflection on the movie. It's just, what time was it? Like 8:30,
Okay, I had my Metamucil. Okay, I had my Metamucil. Matlock was over. Fuck you, Langan. It was bedtime.
Fuck you, Lang.
Matlock was over. That may be the poll quote for the night. Yeah.
So, God damn it, am I the only one that's seen this one too?
Yeah.
What is it on?
Yeah.
What's it on?
Butter.
Yeah.
Gutter, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, it's on Shudder.
Oh.
Welcome to the ball game, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is this a series or is this a movie?
it's a movie.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so the setup is these two writers, they go to a writer retreat. One's in one cabin, one's in
Oh.
another, I guess.
I saw this, yeah, with Aya Cash, right?
Yeah, with Aya Cash. Great
Yeah, yeah.
acting from Aya Cash.
I liked the movie. I'm just tired of seeing her play the same character 3 times
That
in 3
yeah,
things.
that she did channel Stormfront there, didn't she?
Yeah.
Without her powers, but she's a great actress.
Oh,
But it's not something I've seen before. So the power goes out, guys, and so she comes over, and they decide they're gonna. The other guy's a man. I forget his name in the movie. Fred, and they decide, okay, let's tell each other scary stories. Scare me, and act it out and everything. I really, really enjoyed it all the way up to the end. I was disappointed by the ending, to tell you the truth. And I can't say why without spoiling it. So,
yeah.
But I will say this: there's one point where, remember when she says, "Are those the dishwasher lights, Rob?"
Yeah.
That, I was like, "Oh, good, they're gonna do it," and they didn't.
Yeah.
So
There was a lot of different points where I thought something was going to ramp up, and I did enjoy the movie overall. But I thought it was going to take a few different turns, and it just never. And if it had taken those turns, it would have been great.
yeah,
The trajectory it went to, even though the ending was weak, I thought it was great. I loved when the pizza guy showed up. He's the MVP to me. That guy was. I've never seen him in anything else, but he was fantastic.
Well, the other thing that was weird about him was he snuck in. You can clearly see him sneaking in.
Yeah.
And there's just so many ways this could have gone. And I will give him this, the very original idea for a horror movie.
I can see it play, which I think would be fascinating. Like a stage adaptation of it would be really cool.
Yeah, but it just, the ending was weak. So
yeah.
I do think it's worth one watch, but it's not one I'll ever watch again. So, okay, those are the ones I wanted to talk about. You guys aren't watching TV lately.
I am binge watching some things.
What are you binge watching?
A British mystery show called New Tricks.
All right.
What is that?
It's actually pretty old. When I say pretty old, like 10 years. It's about 3 retired cops who are hired back to investigate.
I've seen this. I have actually seen this when my wife and I. She's from Scotland, and when we would visit her family, we would watch this. That's all I got. Yeah.
Good.
Hooray!
It's actually
Thank you for
really
your
enjoyable.
contribution.
Damn it, Kiesling.
What's the name again, and what platform is it on, Pete?
I think it's on BritBox.
Probably.
I'm getting it through Amazon. I think it's through BritBox. But yeah, it's called New Tricks.
New Tricks.
New Tricks. It's like old
Old dog, new
dogs,
tricks.
new
Okay,
tricks.
I got you. Yeah.
And basically, they just solve cold cases. The episode I just watched is they dealt with a cold case from Victorian England.
Cold cases. You might have reeled me in with that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
There's about, I think, 10 seasons.
Oh wow!
So it ran.
But it's British seasons though, so it's not like 20 episodes.
Yeah.
A season.
Oh, they call it a day.
Yeah, so like in the beginning, there's like 10 episodes a season, but I think by the time you get to the 9th season, it's down to 4.
I like that. I think I like that way better than Arrow 23 episodes a season. It's like
I cannot agree with you more. Yeah.
I tap out around 10 episodes. That's where I'm just like, God, land the plane on this.
But the thing is,
like that.
Platforms like Amazon and Netflix and Hulu, they're learning that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just The Boys today, and it was only 8 episodes. Boys season 2, and I was like, it's so much better when they do shortened seasons because every penny can go into making this something special in 8 episodes, as opposed to stretching it out for 23. It's just
you've got one big boss like in Buffy. They did it very well, but they're stretching this big boss thing out through 20 episodes, 22 episodes, and you don't have to do that with 6 or 8 or 10 episodes. It's like the Star Trek prequels, Star Wars prequels, where George Lucas was like, one of his quotes were like, 1 and 2, that's just mostly filler. And I'm thinking, screw you, dude. He was just like, I just had to get to number 3. That was the important one. All right, so here's some movies that are available now that I have not seen, and I wondered if any of you guys have seen. Blumhouse has put out a couple. One's called The Lie.
Yes.
And one's called Black Box,
which is supposed to be very, very good.
I'm not sure if this one is Blumhouse, but it's called The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw. I discovered a really cool website today, and with a very easy to remember URL, upcominghorrormovies.com. It also shows available now. The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw. Okay, so here's what it has to say about that. And this is available now. Set against the autumnal palette of harvest season in 1973, the movie explores the disturbed bond between Audrey and an enigmatic young woman, and Agatha, her domineering mother, who lives secretly as occultists on the outskirts of a remote Protestant village. As the community is besieged by a pestilence of unknown origin, children, fields, and livestock begin to die, yet the Earnshaw farm remains strangely unaffected. Mass hysteria, yada, yada, yada. Black Box, also
What
available.
is that first one up? What is the outlet for that first one?
The title?
No, the what is it on right now? Is it on?
I think
Prime?
they're all on Amazon through. They might be through different. I lose track because I do like you were saying, Pete. I don't have BritBox anymore, but like Shudder, I get it through Amazon so that I can get everything in one place, that sort of thing. But I think these are just available on Amazon Prime, but I could be wrong. Just Google it, I guess. The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw. Black Box looks interesting. about a man struggling to regain his memory after surviving a tragic car accident. Desperate to return to his former self while trying to raise his daughter, he receives an experimental treatment that helps him probe into a past which suddenly feels too dark to be his own. That could go either way, I guess.
Yeah. That sounds interesting, though, too. Both of those sound great, and they're both Blumhouse?
I think so, but I know they're on Amazon. And then The Lie. Have you heard anything about The Lie, Pete?
No, I haven't heard anything about The Lie.
Okay, when their teenage daughter confesses to impulsively killing her best friend, two desperate parents attempt to cover up the horrific crime, leading them into a complicated web of lies and deception.
As you do.
As you do when you cover up your kid murdering somebody. I don't know if that one's for me. But
That reminds me of that Prisoners movie with Hugh Jackman. It sort of conjures memories of that. I don't know if you saw that or not. It's fantastic.
I like Hugh Jackman, but it just didn't look good to me.
It's amazing. It's the guy who made the new Dune movie, same director, and he did Sicario. Denis Villeneuve, I think his name is.
And Jake Gyllenhaal's in that too, isn't he?
Jake Gyllenhaal's on another level in that movie. He's outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on another level in what's the movie where he starts filming
Nightcrawler.
Oh, Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, yes.
Fantastic movie.
It is.
Yeah, that is
really
a great film.
Okay, so this one looks more interesting to me. It's called 12-Hour Shift. Again, available now. It's 1998, and over the course of one 12-hour shift at an Arkansas hospital, a junkie nurse, her scheming cousin, and a group of black market organ trading criminals start a heist that could lead to all of their demise. What's the plural of demise? Is it demises? There's no plural to demise, is there?
Demises.
Demises, yeah, I would think.
No, that's not what they wrote here. So
Demise.
Demise.
I can't think of any
more.
I can't think of any of that without thinking of the movie Mystery Men. So
I love
Nemesis.
We've always been each other's greatest nemesis.
Nemesis.
What's the plural on that? Nemesis. Yeah, that's.
I thought I was the only one who liked Mystery Men.
No, I like Mystery Men.
Mystery Men is awesome.
That movie's got a cult following.
Someday I will
right.
as the bowler.
I will
master
anyone.
Your fear. Your fear will master you. Wait a minute. What's
the guy's name who plays the really cool superhero that these guys?
Captain Freedom.
Yeah, something like that. And what's his alter ego's name, Rick?
Captain Thing is Craig.
Craig Kilborn.
Yeah, I think Craig Kilborn. Yeah.
Is that his name in the movie, or is that
that's the actor?
Okay, well, whoever his name is in the movie. Remember when they're in the diner and they're arguing about the fact that he can't be the superhero guy?
It's Lance something.
Yeah. No, Lance wears glasses. Captain Amazing does not wear glasses. How can they be the same person?
I honestly think that Baby Bowler is one of the greatest superheroes ever invented.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Her arguing with the ball the whole time is so funny.
Anyone who does not put Mystery Men on a list of greatest superhero movies, we're not friends, okay? We're just, we can't be friends.
But meanwhile, when Smash Mouth disowned the film.
Really?
So did Ben Stiller. He refuses. He'll never talk about it. He disowned it as well.
Why? Man, his scenes where he's like Captain Furious, all he does is stand on top of the car and go, he does absolutely nothing else.
It's such a great cast, too. It's really Hank Azaria is amazing.
William Macy.
Yeah, he's great. It was supposed to be Danny DeVito, William H. Macy's character.
Oh, that would have been great.
And he was supposed to direct, and then he went and did, I think he did Death to Smoochie instead, which is also a brilliant movie.
I think
why doesn't Stiller like the movie? I want to hear the rest of that gossip. Why is he?
I think the rumor is that he's just not happy with how goofy it was, and it's like, dude, didn't you know the movie you were making? I think he thought he was making like a mumblecore indie comedy superhero thing, and that's not what this was.
And what about? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And what about Invisible Boy? Is that not hilarious or what?
It's super hilarious.
Michael Bay is one of the frat boys in that movie too, and he gets killed. It's great.
He's like, I'm invisible, but only when no one is looking at
me. Yeah.
And they actually created a situation where that made sense.
Yeah, and he really was invisible to the electronics.
Maybe you should
Jeffrey Rush is the villain, right?
Yes.
Casanova Frankenstein.
Oh my
what a
God,
great name!
He's like over the top great on this.
Eddie Izzard is one of the Disco Boys.
The Disco Boys. Oh my God!
I saw Eddie Izzard live.
I'm sorry, I have to cut this
gosh,
short. I have to
Eddie
go
Izzard.
rewatch Mystery Men right now.
Yes.
This is so awesome.
Wait, I want to hear Rob's story about seeing Eddie Izzard live.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's just, and I'm sitting there, and he's in full. He looks beautiful. He's stunningly beautiful, and he's out on stage, and all I could think of was Disco Boys. He's going to take out the gold gun and do the Disco Boys. He has to, but he was so brilliantly funny. If people are allowed to go to funny things again, I recommend seeing Eddie's.
I'm disappointed, Rob, that you didn't shout out Disco Boy. See what happened.
We were in like the third row. He would have heard me too.
Yeah, absolutely. You just would have sat there for a minute, stood there lost in thought.
Just to get back to Captain Freedom, he was played by Greg Kinnear.
Captain Amazing.
That's
no, it's Captain Freedom, I think.
Remember, he wears all the corporate sponsors on his jumpsuit.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Rush was like,
it's Captain Amazing.
Yeah,
you're right, it's Captain Amazing.
He goes, I thought it was about making your sponsors happy, and Captain Amazing is. It's that type of cynicism that I really think is poisoning the city today, you know. So it's just
and they accidentally kill him. That was the best part.
It was.
Oh dang.
Yeah. Oh dang. What do you mean? I was standing over here. I didn't do shit. All right, two more that I saw on upcoming horrormovies.com. I Am Lisa. When Lisa, a local outcast, is left to die by a sadistic small-town sheriff and her underlings, she is bitten by a creature of the night and is bestowed with supernatural abilities. Lisa must then exact revenge on those who have wronged her while doing her best to retain her humanity. Okay, so that one interests me more.
Isn't that Innocent Blood?
I don't know.
That's also, I think, on Prime for free. That one,
I think several of these are. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple more to make you aware of. The Cleansing Hour.
I watched that the other night.
How was it?
Horrible.
Not good?
Nah, not a recommend for me.
I take your word for it. I'm not even going to read about it then.
Yeah. Has a neat premise, but...
Yeah, I trust you. That's all right.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah, that was me. Okay, and the last one we've got here is The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Anyone seen that one?
Oh, I want to see that.
Terror grips a small mountain town as bodies are discovered after each full moon. I wonder where they're going with this.
Yeah.
Losing sleep, raising a teenage daughter, and caring for his ailing father, Officer Marshall struggles to remind himself that there's no such thing as werewolves.
Yeah, it's the late Robert Forster. It might be his last film role.
Yeah, this one could be good, and I Am Lisa could be good. Curse of Audrey Earnshaw and Black Box. I don't know about The Lie. I mean, covering up your daughter's murderous act, and it's just not, you know. Oh, the 12-hour shift one looks good too, I think. So anyway, there you go.
It's called 12-hour shift.
12-hour shift, yes.
The organ stealing one.
Yeah, that's the one. Let us move on, and then I'm going to eat supper. Coming soon. Now, Kelly Young, I think, is in a state of glorious bliss waiting for this to come out. The Stand, December 17th on CBS All Access.
Is this the third version of this?
I think it's the second version.
Okay.
I can't say as I'm really thrilled about it. I don't think the trailer excited me particularly.
It seems very much like the 1994 version, only updated a bit.
Did the studio still have an outstanding option on this, so that it was relatively cheap to make?
I don't know, but I do have a question. The Stand was originally published in 1978. Do you guys feel that we're talking about the book now for a second? Do you guys feel that it's held up all this time? Are you guys fans of the book?
I just listened to an audiobook after reading it years ago, and I found it held up. I enjoyed it just as much.
The audiobook. How many months did that take you to listen to?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a long commute to work, so I was able to get it done in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That's how I usually do with Stephen King, is I listen to him on an audiobook.
Yeah.
There are two versions of the book.
Yes.
He updated it, and I was glad. I was glad I read it late because I hate to go through a whole 1,000 page novel again.
If anything, the only complaint I would have is that after 2020, there weren't enough stupid people in the book.
That's a good point.
That's fair.
That's a good point. I mean, we need to read those. Yeah, you can get your fix with Paul's latest book on that. I'm sorry, Paul. Don't kill me. The title escapes me.
Oh, Survivor Song?
Survivor Song, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could read The Stand again. It's like...
It's a big book, man.
It's really long, and Stephen King has a bunch of other stuff that's come out since then. And besides, we all really like the Left Behind novels better. You can admit
Jesus
Christ.
Jesus.
It's like the Nicolas Cage Left Behind movie, the best.
Oh, my God.
I liked all three endings.
What I liked even better was the Simpsons Left Below trailer, where they go to see the Left Below movie, and there's a guy like drowning in a lake of blood, shouting, "Why did I choose to be gay?" and all sorts of things like that.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so here's my problem with the story in general, and I love Stephen King, so don't get me wrong. It's very, what's the word, binary, good versus evil. That's it. There's no shades of gray in there. You're either with Mother Abigail or you're with Randall Flagg, who is in Las Vegas, if that's not too on the nose for you. Las Vegas, I don't know. What's wrong?
Look, I know you love Las Vegas, but Harlan Ellison said once, if there is an American equivalent to Sodom and Gomorrah, it's Las Vegas.
It's a good thing,
if Harlan said that.
Maybe I come down on the Randall Flagg side. I don't know, but
I think that's basically what it is. You feel that it was unfair.
Yeah. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Ross McDonald said Las Vegas was the capital of crime in America.
I thought that was New York City.
Well, the city that the mob built in a lot of ways, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but no, I think that it is but you're absolutely right, Mike. It is a binary book. Like that's what King is setting out to do. That, and I think he said something. He's well, this is a long time ago, but I seem to recall him saying something like, he wanted to write like the Lord of the Rings set in contemporary America, and that's very much the kind of book that it is. And
that's a good point.
I suspect too. King has written about being raised a kind of hellfire Methodist. And I suspect that there's something of that in the book too. Like, either you're saved or you're damned.
Yeah.
And it would, I only read the original version. I remember freaking out because I probably read it in the early 80s, and King had set the book in 1986. And it was like, June 3rd, 1986. And when June 3rd, 1986 rolled around, I remember like, all right, we're at Stand Day. Is anything going to, little did I know. But yeah, no, I think that there isn't much room for moral change in the Stand. I mean, there's Harold's, that character kind of at the last minute kind of doesn't completely screw up, but yeah, it's you have to accept that that's the kind of that's the kind of moral universe that you're inhabiting. It's like Tolkien. The orcs are there's never the orc who's like, why do we need to fight anymore? Let's just go and do so. Let's go.
Well, I think you do make a really great point that I hadn't looked at it that way, because I am a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings books, movies, audio dramas. And yeah, you're right. They're very binary too. So
it's nice too to have a binary story after reading so much ambiguity and so much shades of gray. It's nice to see something that's like, hey, this is good and this is evil, and
well,
wins.
Yeah,
you're right. But one of the things I have to think about is that in the situation where there's the extinction of the human race, and you're facing really an enemy that wants to destroy the last remaining vestiges, is there any room for moral ambiguity? If you've got a leader that is saying these are the new laws and this is what needs to be done for us to survive, I don't know that there's any room for discussion.
But the interesting thing about it, I mean, is that after everything is over, where are they, in Boulder or Denver? I can't remember where the good guys
Boulder,
are. Is it Boulder? Yeah. I want to say that like Stu Redman and his wife, girlfriend, whatever, they're looking to leave Boulder because there's a new guy who's been elected as sheriff, and he's a little bit like they don't. He's a law and order man, and they're kind of like, So it's as if that kind of the intense, sort of cosmic good and evil that motivates that most of the novel then fades.
Yes.
And then all the gray comes back in, and then it's
it's kind of like World War II. Okay, you're either fighting the Nazis or you're with the Nazis. I see what you're saying.
And then after, when it's all done, when the crisis is averted,
right,
then we can start having discussions.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. It wasn't a criticism, but it's just I'm not crazy about those types of stories, but you guys have pointed out that actually I am, if I like Lord of the Rings and so forth. And you make a very good point that when the crisis is over, then you get more into gray areas again.
Well, and what's interesting too, just to take it a step further for a second, part of what makes the Lord of the Rings, I think, such a remarkable book, right, is that it's about throwing away power. Mm-hmm. That in most contemporary, I'm making a vast generalization, but in most contemporary fantastical novels, when you get the magic artifact, you use that. Yeah. It's like I need the whatever of whatever to defeat the Goblin King or something like that.
That's one of the advantages they have against Sauron, is Gandalf says he can't even imagine that we wouldn't use it. There's no way he would imagine that we're going to destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. And in King's novel, he follows that. The everybody who goes to Las Vegas goes as a sacrifice. They don't go, like in another kind of novel, they would be leading, there'd be like an assassination team or something, the Punisher,
right.
Or an army or something like that. And it's not. It's just they go there knowing that they kind of have to go. They don't understand what's going to happen.
If I remember right, Mother Abigail says something like 2 of you won't return or something like that, but they go anyway.
It's one of her prophecies.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's something, and it obviously has these very heavily Christian overtones. But so does Frodo. So does what's going on there,
Sure.
and it's actually, I think that's actually used in a really interesting kind of way. That I don't know. I don't feel like, I'm thinking to myself, why haven't you ever learned from that, Langan? So
John, that is, I mean, but that's a really good point that you made. That they don't go there as anything but they know they're probably sacrificing themselves for the greater good by going to Las Vegas from Boulder.
Yeah.
So.
And then you look at the Christian overtones again, the idea of remaking the world, and that's when the gray area comes through again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to wrap up soon, but I just want to briefly point out before we point out Todd and Rob's book again. There's a couple of female edited and/or written books lately. Before I get to that, Shivers 8, edited by Richard Chismar. I don't know if that's out already or if it's just about to come out, but maybe put that on your list, people. Okay, so Gemma Files, I believe this is coming out in February. This is titled In That Endlessness, Our End. And I have not had a chance to read this yet, but
Is that the one that
God, does
Pat
this look good.
Publishing?
I'm sorry?
Is that the one that John Padgett is publishing through Grimscribe?
Yes, that is the one.
I pre-ordered that. I'm very excited. I've read some of the stories in it, like just in various anthologies, and
Yeah.
Gemma's just on a tear, man. She's like riding this like wave of power or something like that. You know, she's annihilating all in her path. No, but the minute I saw that was up for pre-order, I was like, okay, give me your little credit card.
Yeah, I mean, here's the back. Come closer, friend. Let me tell you a story. Heard the one about the Airbnb that eats your dreams, or the iron-crowned king who preys on his own bloodline from the air, still smoldering centuries after being burnt alive? Or how about the cloudy, antique bottle you can wish your excess rage inside? Or that crooked alley down which something waits to replace your disappointing child with a far more pleasant facsimile? She's just a very, very talented writer, and I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, she really, really is. She's one of the contemporary greats, I think.
Yes, and then swinging over to editors for a moment, obviously Ellen Datlow is at the top of that list. The Best Tour of the Year, Volume 12, looks great. I think this is the one I'm thinking of, where I looked at it on Amazon, and it looked like you could order it on Kindle right away, but only pre-order it for print.
Right.
Okay, so bear that in mind if you want to read this right away. And then this is very apropos for this time of the year. This is Halloween Season, a collection by Lucy Snyder.
Mine is in the mail of that right now.
Yeah, this is great. So, anyway, to recap, In That Endlessness, Our End. Something interesting about In That Endlessness, Our End. If you go to what is it, Grimscribe Publishing, something like that. Just Google In That Endlessness, Our End, and Gemma Files. It should take you there. But you can actually order or pre-order, I can't remember, the Kindle from there as opposed to going to Amazon, and name your own price. Wow. You know, I don't know what John's doing there, but that's kind of a cool concept. So
yeah, that's neat.
So yeah. Very thick Best Tour of the Year number 12 and Halloween Season. So pick those up. Last but not least, remember our guest books. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us, man. Thank you.
Todd, I appreciate you putting up with my chronic illness. I'm sorry to hear that you have your wife deals with it, so you understood immediately what I was saying when I sent you that apologetic email last week. So
it's fine, man.
So
I'm just
so thank you for
a
that.
little better. Yeah.
And Rob, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, and it's been awesome. I've listened to you guys, and so getting to talk to you and see you all is intimidating as hell. But I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, no.
Intimidating, but also slightly disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, now that you've actually had a chance to speak to Langan, directly,
it's
I was very intimidated for you to be on the show, Mr. Langan. So
It's kind of
No, I was just going to make a really rotten remark to Todd, so I'll
knew
just
it. I saw it. I could see it.
Such a good remark, Rob, and then you were all nice and gracious. And
I'm sorry.
oh, Rob,
Stop being so
man.
nice,
All right,
God damn it,
Jesus.
Rob.
I'm sorry. All right, I'll be mean. I'm from New York. I could be mean.
I was going to make a remark about Todd's microphone and how he's overcompensating. Come on, look
Oh
at
my
that.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. How old are you? Man.
Inside about 11 and a half.
I knew it. It's all right, John. I can't wait till we can hang out again. I
hope next Nikon. I hope we'll all Rob, have you been to Nikon, Rob, or
No,
you got to go to Nikon.
So
man.
go to Nikon, which I know sounds vaguely cultish, but it's a horror writers gathering. I want to say convention, but it's very tiny.
Where is it?
It'll be in Salem this coming year.
Oh.
And it's just one track of programming and very laid back. There may be an incredible amount of alcohol.
Why are you there?
There will be an incredible amount of alcohol.
I don't remember an awful lot of this past one. Let's just put it
I'll
that
tell you
way.
what. If you weren't an alcoholic before 2020, you have to be becoming one now. So, Bridget, or did you say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just laughing.
Okay.
It was Bridget's little friend who was talking. He was like, "Come on, Bridget, kill them all."
I need my margarita.
When does Nikon usually take place?
Usually the third week in July, I want to say. And for years, friends of mine had been saying, you should go to this. And I was always like, yeah. And then I finally went, and it was so nice. Like, it was just so nice to be with a bunch of other horror writers.
That's where I met John for the first time. And
all right, so aside from that, it was really great. I mean... there's like one thing that's going to happen one bad thing that happens. And I was like, right, I met Todd Kiesling. Okay, now I can enjoy the weekend. But
yeah, you got that out of the way, man.
I'm sorry.
But it's everybody is just so relaxed and some conventions you go to, actually most conventions you go to, everybody is hustling. Everybody is, and there's
what can I do to get you to buy this book today?
Yeah, and there's not really, it's not a hustling convention. It's just hey, let's all just hang out and have a nice time together, and it's really very pleasant. So
I found a lot of horror writers are really super chill and laid back and everything. So
it's all the drugs, yeah.
Oh, well,
it's
that's
the
good.
alcohol and the drugs.
There is one other book by a female author I wanted to plug. And I do believe this is out. I just forgot because I don't have a hard copy. I've got a Kindle copy. But it's called Crossroads. I don't know how much this is going to show up on my screen. But
Laurel Hightower?
Laurel Hightower. Very, very interesting premise.
It's excellent.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have.
Already? Yeah. Laurel
I
Hightower. And again, the name of the book is Crossroads. And yeah.
Also, check out her first novel, Whispers in the Dark. It came out through, I want to say it was Journal Stone. If not Journal Stone, then Trepidatio or Trepidatio, however you pronounce it.
I'm sure it's on Amazon as well. So
yeah, it is.
We can look it up. But yes, this is So I've been wanting to plug these gals for a while, and I decided to kind of just do it all in one get-go. So, but yeah, Crossroads is amazing. It absolutely is amazing.
Yes, it is.
So
it's a gut punch. It's gonna rip your heart out.
Yeah. Anyway, Todd's book is called Devil's Creek. It's available in print and Kindle. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. Rob's book is called Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. Is that right? I have that right, don't I?
Yes, sir.
Also in print and on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. So, yeah, you have no excuse. Read these books because they're very good. And thanks, guys, for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Mike.
Yes.
Can I talk about a project?
Go right ahead.
All right. So last year, Rob Coyne in Britain came out with a book called Ancestors and Descendants.
Right.
Which is stories prequels and sequels to Lovecraftian stories.
Right.
So this year he's doing a Kickstarter for a book called Weird Tales, Lovecraftian Cats.
That's
Weird
awesome.
Tales, Tales, right?
Tails.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. You're
So, yeah, there's it's almost funded. It's like short $122. It's got 13 days to go.
They'll make
But
it.
it'll make it. But just so you're out there, it's Kickstarter Weird Tales. It's got a bunch of great writers in it, including Ian Delacroix, Russell Smeaton, Miguel Faguer, Tony Bradbury, John DeLauder. I always want to say DeLauder's name is The Laughter. But,
So do I. Yeah.
Glenn Owen Barras, Chris Halliday, Andy Joins. I've subbed a story. I haven't heard back, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to end up buying this. So yeah, it's entertaining and it's cheap. It's cheap to finance.
To find this Kickstarter, I'm going to assume they just Google Weird Tales, Tails, and the word Kickstarter.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And not every Mythos collection has to be. Some of them can be, kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I think this is definitely one that's gonna be fun. So
Speaking of fun, Pete sent me a story that he wrote recently, and it's just another benefit. This was Pete's idea, and I love the idea. Another benefit for Patreons is that we'll have, I ran the Lovecraft eZine magazine until 2016, so it was alive for about 6 years, and since then I've concentrated on book publishing and the podcast and so forth. But Pete had the thought that we could have a sort of continuation of the magazine by publishing short stories, Lovecraftian short stories, weird fiction short stories for patrons. And this will be the first one. I love it. It was a really, really fun read. It was kind of riffed on The Shadow Out of Time, and it went in a couple of places I did not expect it to go to. And it was a very satisfying payoff for sure. So yeah, if you're thinking of becoming a Lovecraft eZine patron, that deep background thing I mentioned, Laird's going to be my first victim as far as the bios on writers and creators, and we're also adding short stories for patrons only too. So thanks for the idea, Pete. Thanks for the story. And so yeah, if you're on the fence about whether you want to become a patron, hopefully that'll push you over the fence on my side, not the other side. So just Google Lovecraft eZine patron, you'll find it. So anyway, thanks to our guests, thanks to our panelists for being here. I got a lot of TV to watch, and my TBR is like this. So what I need is about 3 weeks off of doing no work at all, where I can catch up on all this stuff. So if anybody wants to run the Lovecraft eZine for me for the next 3 weeks, just shoot me an email. Oh, Rob, you're hired.
Rob's like, I'm down.
Rob
There you go.
volunteers as tribute.
I promise. I promise that I will show you the respect and pay you the same that I pay all of my guest panelists on this show.
Don't do it, Rob. It's our immortal souls. Don't
That's a
do
trap.
it. Yeah, your inner Admiral Akbar should just be
That's a trap.
like, it's a trap.
Oh, I respect you, John. I respect you.
yeah, they
Oh
all
my God, that's
Well,
the
why?
sarcasm. Yeah. Wow.
I've been
Wow.
married
That's
5
great.
times, Rob. 5 times. I don't make good choices.
Sure you do. How many years have you been on this show?
That's case in point right there.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you, John.
This
Well,
has got to be the most abusive relationship I've ever been
You're
in.
obviously making the same mistake every week, Langan. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's
see,
Yeah.
John we're
Laird's
talking about
smart.
here.
He comes on the show every great once in a while, but we've got you sucked in just about
I
every
come
week.
back every week. I'm like, my wife's like, "Are you doing that thing again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so."
She's like, but it's
you know.
but it's so toxic. look at what it's doing to you.
It's like, but it's like, yeah. And then Thursday, she's like, again on Thursday too. Really?
The funny thing is, she probably did say this. And she probably hates me.
And then I'm like, hey, you want to watch a movie together instead? And she's like, no, just go do that. That's fine.
Yeah, see, when John talks about his friends, Stephen Graham Jones is the guy that his wife thinks is really, really hot.
Everybody, not just everybody's wife, everybody thinks that Stephen Graham Jones is pretty hot.
Okay, fair point.
I defy you
I
not
wish
to
I
find
had
that
his
man
hair.
beautiful.
And when he talks about Mike Davis, she's like,
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. But
that Mike Davis, your friend Mike Davis, he's that annoying guy who keeps sucking you away from family time, isn't he? And you're like, yeah, sorry about that. So
no, she's just like, whatever. Yeah.
So, Mike, I'll never forget that time that we were in Providence. And we're hanging out outside with Joe.
Yeah.
And those guys come up to us and they're like, man, we love the eZine. You know, we don't read any of your books, but, yeah. You guys are our favorite characters on the internet.
and they went up to Joe and they're like, you're my favorite character on that show. And Joe's like, thanks, I guess.
Joe's like, I'm not a character, but he was. Let's face it.
Yeah. You know, when I wrote my little blog post about him after he passed away, one of the things I said was that Joe was bigger than life. You know, you just had that kind of personality.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you, everyone. Next week, let's see, who do we have? And thank you for the audio listeners. Thank you. I'm slowly catching up after COVID, and because the idea is to have the audio versions up, you know, the same week as the as this airs live on Sunday. So, and I am getting there again. John Horner Jacobs next Sunday.
Nice.
So, yeah, love that guy. So talented, nice guy.
Extremely talented.
All right, thank you everybody, and thanks to the panelists who keep showing up every week despite knowing it's not good for them. Appreciate that, and we'll see you all next week.
Take care, everybody.
Pleasure.